Okay, irreplaceable people, welcome to this discussion. Today we are with Kunal Dalal. Great pleasure to have these coming minutes with you and get all the insights that are coming from you. I mean, a person who's working uh, on AI in education, a father as well, and the author of a book that had the two editions focused on the relationship of how kids should have a relationship with AI and how, as parents, we can help them
Yeah.
in building this relationship. So that will be a great discussion. Kunal, I know also that you told me you're the first one to work on AI in the public schools in the US.
Yeah. So that's my job title right now. Myself and my colleague Wes, we are administrators of artificial intelligence at the Orange County Department of Education. To our knowledge, we are the only, and if we're not the only, we're one of just maybe a handful of people who are actually employed at a public school district or public school office who are dedicated exclusively to AI and have AI in their title. And so it's an exciting job. It's an exciting time to be in this job. I love my work. And my hope is next year there's going to be a lot more AI folks in public education. It won't just be us.
Exactly. Great. Yeah, great trend. Great trend. Um, uh, Kunal, I would love to yeah, tell us about how you get to focusing on
Yeah,
this build on kind of building, I mean, helping people to build the best relationship between their
yeah.
kids and AI.
Yeah.
Uh,
So my history is I was a school teacher. I was a high school principal. I worked in education. I've been in education now for 20 odd years. And so my I've always found my work most important with young people. But of course, all that changes when you become an actual parent, right? And you have your own kids. And so when ChatGPT came out for the first time back in 22, right? It was 22.
2020.
I'm still trying to recover from COVID years, still trying to figure out what year it is. But um, but when it first came out, I played with it just like everybody else did. I messed with it here and there. But the moment it really hit me was maybe 2 months after it was released. My son had a cut on his hand and he had a band-aid on his hand. And so his cousin put a band-aid on her hand as well. And so my son asked, "Why is the cousin putting a band-aid on her hand? She doesn't have a cut." And I said, "Oh, that's," so I decided I was going to teach my son the word solidarity. I said, "So there's a word called solidarity, and she's showing solidarity." And so I tried to explain the word to him, and I did a really, really bad job. And so I decided, hey, there's this new chat GPT thing. There's this AI chatbot. Let me go ask it. And I said, explain solidarity to a 4 year old. And the explanation that came out was so good. And this is back in January 2023 when everything ChatGPT said, we were all like, oh my God. Now
Yes,
the response, we wouldn't be so excited about. But back then, it didn't matter what it said; it just felt like it was magic.
yes.
And so, in that moment, I thought, "Wait a second, this is something really useful." And since then, I've been using AI as a partner in parenting for as long as it's generative AI, for as long as it's been public. And I wrote my first edition March of last year, and it was mostly about how I use ChatGPT to help me. He has his favorite show. And I said, "Hey, take the characters of this show and compare them with Shakespearean characters." Something that I would have, it would have taken me a long time to do, but ChatGPT did in 1 second. And so these were things that I got to do with my kid in last year's version. But since then, it's evolved so much. And now I use AI with my son almost every day. My daughter's still a little young. But we do things from he wants music in the room.
How old is your son?
No, he's 4. He's 4.5. He's going to be
Oh,
5
wow,
in a
okay.
few months. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess that's
very
the
young.
point.
Yes.
That he is young. He is 4. So that he isn't an older child. But he's like, I want scary music so we can play in the room. And so I was at first looking through soundtracks. Oh, what movie has a scary soundtrack? And I thought, what am I doing? Just I can prompt this in Suno and just create music. And so then I asked him to prompt Suno. I said, okay, how do you want the music to sound? He created the prompt. We stuck it in. Music came out, and he listened to that 2 minute track on repeat for probably 6 hours that day, as he was running back and forth through the room. We do things like uh, sometimes he has dreams, and he we recreate the dreams using AI image generation. So he'll describe the dream to me, and then we'll put it in create a prompt, and then he'll look at the prompt, he'll look at the image and say, "Oh yeah, this looks okay, that looks okay," and then we'll switch it a little bit until it looks better. We do that for a daily journal as well. What's your favorite moment of the day? And then we create an image of it. So many things that we do, and it has become this to the point where my son now, he talks about how good he is with AI. Even though he's not touching a keyboard, he's not, he can't type yet. He can't even really write, but he can talk. And when I was on a local news thing, a news station for some of the work we were doing, and I was sitting with him, and he didn't care that I was on TV. He cared that they said AI, and he said, Bobby, I'm good at AI. And I said, you're right. You are really good at AI. And so it's this incredible moment, right, with AI, where we realize that it's so much bigger than just a tool, right? It's so much bigger than just a new word processor or Google Docs or something like that. This is a change in the way we reflect on ourselves, a way in which we carry our day-to-day lives. And for our kids, this is their future. They are not living. They're not gonna. My son is. We talk about digital natives, digital immigrants. We're now going to have AI natives and AI immigrants, and my son is going to be an AI native. What does that mean? It means he's going to be wired quite differently than me. And in my book, I started by saying, how do we parent in a world where all kids can become savants? In our When we were growing up, the type of intelligence and the type of creativity, the type of collaboration you could get to at a young age, we'd call that a prodigy. We'd call that a savant. And today with AI, if we do it right, all of our kids can be savants, every one of them. And so, how do we parent in that time? These are important questions, and so that's why I wrote my book.
Excellent, excellent. So definitely you're kind of showing your son how to get those superpowers thanks to AI and
Hmm.
making it in a playful way.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you also give the full picture, meaning also showing him the limits and the negative aspects and
Yeah, I think not yet. Again, being four, I think there's,
for yeah, it's
yeah,
maybe new.
although here, I'll give you an example. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked this question because I realized that he did something the other day that is an example of that, and we talked about it. I asked him, what was your favorite part of school today? And he's four, so they still take naps at school. And
Mhm.
so he said, oh, it was when I woke up from my nap. And so I said, okay, let's describe that scene. So he described his little sleeping bag. He described what the room looks like. He described all of that. And so then I put that in a prompt. And, he is mixed race. So I'm Indian. His mom's white. And so he's mixed race. So I always have to put that in to the prompt. So I put that in, and excuse me, and then the picture that it created was him. It looked, whatever. It looked like a facsimile of him. But all his classmates, it was this very diverse group of every person was a different race, different color, different hairstyle. And my son used to go to a Spanish language school, which was very diverse, and now he goes to a school that is much less so. Mostly white peers in his school that he goes to for the last few months. He saw the picture with all these diverse kids, and he said, that looks like my old school. That doesn't look like my new school.
Mm.
And I said, why? And he was like, well, look at all the kids. They're all different. Their skin color's different. Their hair is different. But in my school, everyone's white. He understands that because he has two different race parents, and so he can understand that. Um, but in that moment, I reflected to him. I said, hey, look, this AI model, because I said you were multiracial, in its training data, it's going into a place where a multiracial child may be, which likely is going to be surrounded by more multiracial or non-white kids, and so that's where it went. Whereas if we made that exact same prompt but left out what my kid looked like, my guess is it would look more like the school that you go to right now.
Yes.
And so that was a moment to reflect on that embedded, the bias that we can call them biases, but really it's I
Yes.
sometimes get annoyed when we call it AI bias because it's our bias, right? AI is
Yeah.
just
I
reflecting
fully
our
agree.
bias back at us. And so while we can say it's an algorithmic bias, sure it is, but that algorithmic bias is a human bias,
Yeah.
not the machine is just the machine.
Yes.
It's us that's training it.
Definitely. Very, very interesting. So that, yeah, that's a way to explain as well how AI works
Hmm.
to our kids. And I think it's very important to explain to them how it works. Yeah, your son is quite young yet, but
Hmm.
that's what I do with mine is explaining to them what I mean, how does it work in terms of, for example, as you mentioned, training the data, but also how tech companies are using our data or or yeah, trying to keep us hooked as much as possible on
Yep.
games
Yep. Yep.
or social media because they have something to earn, which is
Hmm.
money from ads,
Hmm.
and they will do everything using AI to analyze our behavior, the
Yep.
data from our behavior, and try to see how to attract us and keep
Yeah.
us as much as possible so that we can see as many ads as possible. And so
And I
that this
think
kind
that's where,
of explanation is very important so that really kids understand
yep.
those games or those social media are great. I learn and I play a lot with that. But yeah, the reason why sometimes I don't see the time flying, and the reason why when I wake up in the morning I really want to go on it, it's because they
Yeah.
those technology and the use of AI is understanding how my brain works and
Yeah.
will work on
And
triggering it.
And I think that's where the parent angle becomes so important, is if we don't, as parents, take on the responsibility of educating our kids about this, right? There's a lot of conversation around how we can't make the same mistake with AI that we did with social media, where we just let it go and let the kids do what they did, and older folks pretended like it was just going to go away. And the data over the last 15 years is horrible, right? Around young folks' mental health and
Yes,
especially with young women. And so we can't make that mistake again. And that's where with social media, a lot was just said, okay, schools figured out, and schools said, I don't know, society figured out, and society said, okay, we'll let the tech companies just self-regulate. See, that's not an option with this. This is even bigger than social media. This is like social construction, in a way.
yes,
And so we have to be so vigilant, and one of the things that we're doing here is we're piloting. We'll see how it works, but we're in our little lab that we have, myself and my colleague Wes, for our parent workshops. We're prototyping what we're calling a community AI. So it's essentially a right now we have it running on a Mac Studio, so it's like a larger, expensive, almost like server type machine, where we have a local LLM running, and we're wondering if we can get communities of families to come together to purchase something like a server that could live somewhere in one of those people's houses,
mhm,
and say 10 families, 20 families, depending on how much people could put in, were to have an offline local LLM, then we can really start to address some of these privacy issues, and some of the hooked on what's now being called big AI, which I think is appropriate. But rather than being hooked on, ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever you are, rather than that, own your own LLM, own your own AI. So we're working on that. That's one of our
impressive.
open questions about, can we help parents, especially parents, who might be migrants, some of them may be undocumented, who just will not put their information on the internet, and something local might help them out.
Yes, very interesting. Um, Very blunt questions to you. As a parent, should I see my kids spending hours and hours? Uh, I mean, I have two kids. My son, 12 years old, I was looking at it yesterday. He spent yesterday 5 hours. It's school vacation, huh? So
Yeah.
he spent 5 hours TikTok, Roblox
Hmm.
on his. Should we forbid them to
Sure.
work to be on those devices, or should we? I mean, what is the right approach in your view?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, who knows, right? Like the research I think is there that shows there's the screen time element I think is important, but I think beyond screen time, I think there's now research that's showing it's not just a screen time, it's actually the device itself, the physical window that you get to have on your hand that is a window to the world. That's an interactive window that you have to two-way engage with, right? Not like television when we were growing up, which was a one-way thing, and I didn't have I like my level of engagement to it was zero outside of maybe the remote control. But uh, but with the phone, my engagement, I have an infinite number of options to choose from at any moment, and so that engagement is a totally different level of engagement. I think with AI, we have an opportunity to actually make non-screen time a lot more fun. And like with my 4-year-old, when I think about the music that we create and the dances we do, and then what I do sometimes is I'll even put Google AI Studio, the 1.5 Ultra model, which is free if you use AI Studio, will analyze video a little bit. Not great, but it'll analyze video a little bit. So I'll sometimes take video of him dancing, and then I'll put it into AI Studio and ask it, what kind of dance is this? What is he doing? And some of the answers are really funny. And then I explain those answers to him. And then he wants to dance more. He doesn't want to look at my phone. He wants to dance more because he wants to show the AI what he's up to.
Yes.
And so I think there are ways, and he loves to get out and dig in the dirt. And so same idea where I'll say, okay, I'm going to ask this AI how you should dig this dirt. Oh, how should you fill it up? Let's take a picture of the backyard and let's tell AI, hey, make 50 holes in this backyard and make me an image. And here's what it's going to look like if you make 50 holes. So there are ways I think that if you use AI, it's hard, especially like if your kids are in their teens, they have many, many years of looking at their phones already, right?
Mm.
So this could be a hard break. But I think with AI, meal planning, like that's another thing that talk about in my book, is every Sunday, get your kids and you take pictures of what's in the fridge, take pictures of what's in the pantry, tell AI, hey, create a week of meals based on what you see, and then sit around the table and debate whose meals get cooked,
I
who's
love
going
it.
to cook them, and then turn them into chefs using AI, right?
Yes.
I think there's
Excellent.
hope. I think there's hope.
That's yeah. I mean, I can see from what you say in integrating AI in play and even more than play, because it's the family life, who
Mhm.
cooks and so on. Uh, I see that you're creating this connection between your son and AI in the thought that in the future he won't be scared by AI, like most of us are. I mean,
Yeah,
is that what is this thing that seems to talk to me like a human, but and that might take my job at some point, and that might
right,
okay, and I mean, we are all scared in a way, but he will yeah look at it like a friend that
right.
was with
Yeah.
him during the whole time
And
he grew up.
And that
And
comes with its own set of downsides, right? Where you start to wonder about, okay, what is that relationship going to look like? Is it going to make him less able to have human relationships, right? Because he has this relationship with the AI models. But I don't think that that's a real fear. I mean, it is a real fear, but I don't think it necessarily is going to be the reality. And here's why. I think, um, in many ways, AI is going to be able to be supportive. We had a conversation with a bunch of education leaders during the work that I do here. And one of the leaders brought up the point, hey, we have middle school students who are using character AI and creating these like boyfriends, girlfriends things, and talking really, really inappropriately to them in school. And I think this is really unhealthy for the students to be able to, just do that. And so that conversation could have easily turned into how do we turn these devices off? How do we stop them from talking? Rather, what it turned into was a conversation around loneliness, around how an adolescent teen feels so lonely. And what is an adolescent going to do other than talk about sex? I did it when I was an adolescent. We all did it. That was like that's what you talk about when you're an adolescent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and so rather than say get rid of these character AIs, I started to say, hey, if we train that character AI to be a supportive, positive, reinforcing kind of support AI that actually doesn't go into those inappropriate places that can then turn into self-harm, can turn into negative self-image. Rather, it takes a positive spin on it. Then how I was thinking, how good would have that been for me when I was in some of my most loneliest moments when I was a child? If I had something who could reflect back to me some of what I was feeling and made me feel like what I felt was real and it wasn't something I was just making up and it wasn't my fault. I think it could have really helped. And so that's where that conversation went. And I think if we think of our kids' relationships with AI in that way, rather than it turning into this negative, um, you know, uh, self self-destructive thing, I always say like we've been in this digital world, we've been brainwashed to believe that all the this digital stuff that we do is real. And all the spreadsheets we make, all the posters we make, all the flyers, all the books we write, everything, all of that is somehow is our value. And like our kids, oh, if they succeed, if they get to this college or they get this job or whatever, that somehow has some human value, but that doesn't. That's to me, those are bits and bytes through cables, right? Like every presentation I've made, the book I wrote, those are bits and bytes through cables. There's nothing human about that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But an AI model is never going to be able to hold the hand of a young person who just lost someone who's close to them and sit with them. An AI model will never be able to laugh so hard that it can't stop laughing. It wants to stop laughing, but it can't stop laughing. These are things that humans do. And so while kids might find support through AI models, they're never going to have a hand to hold. They will know. Kids are not stupid. They will
Mm-hmm.
know that this AI model does not know what it feels like to lose a parent, but another human might. And so I'm going
Yes.
to talk to the human, not to the AI model.
So it's a good tool to identify issues that and opportunities that are then made and solved by people.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and it's us, right? And again, that's AI, this especially the generative AI has become such a mirror to ourselves, right?
yeah,
It
yeah,
reflects
exactly.
back our biases, it reflects back our own thinking. And I think those of us who are most resistant are not resistant to AI. I think they're actually resistant to self being vulnerable to
To the mirror.
exactly, exactly,
Exactly.
exactly.
Um,
Because
I,
sometimes
I,
it's
I,
scary to look in that mirror, right?
yes, definitely. Hey, Kunal, I want to make sure we collect really all your insights and can you summarize what are the recommendations you would give to parents who are
Yeah.
wondering how do I manage my kids AI and
So
um
I think the first
yeah,
piece is as a parent yourself, get really first piece is buy my book, of course. I'll say that. Sure.
yes.
I can say
And
that.
can you remember the name of the book?
Yeah, yeah. It's called The AI Parent. And the subheading is how artificial intelligence is making me a better father. And then parenthetically, I have and why it sometimes fills me with existential dread. But it's mostly about making me a better father. But I think as parents, the first thing is to become uh, sort of fluent yourself with AI. So using it for go use the free chat GPT, go use the new free Claude version is exceptional. Gemini is good enough, good too. It's no longer barred. And so, sorry about that. And so, the first thing is get familiar. Just ask it questions. Think of AI as a new friend or employee who just walked up, who can do a bunch of things, who can do all the digital things you need it to do, but it doesn't know anything about you. So it doesn't know what you like. It doesn't know what you want. So just ask it simple things ask it how it can help you. Hi,
Yes.
ChatGPT, I don't know anything about you. What can you do for me? And just start there.
Very good.
Um,
So first thing is, as parents, let's be educated enough so that we
learn,
can use
learn.
them and
Yes, yes.
use them with our kids. Yeah.
Exactly. And then once you do that, start with something simple. I would say my favorite beginning thing is to do meal planning because it is very easy to do, and it is an immediate way that parents can collaborate with their kids, right? So just take a picture of everything in your fridge, ask it, put it into ChatGPT 4, ask it, do you see what's in my fridge? It'll list out what's in your fridge, and then say, hey, make a meal plan on for Monday and Tuesday dinner based on what you see. Add in whatever I need to go to the grocery store to get that I don't have in the fridge. Something as simple as that. Just start there, um, and then um, and then go from there. And you can see how, make music at home using Suno, Suno. That's another AI tool. Make music at home, dance with your kids. But really, I think in the end, here's like the biggest message that I have is as I'll speak for myself, and I know this to be true for most parents my age across the world. Really, is what I call, what I think of as trauma informed parenting. Like as as I was growing up, my parents, being immigrants here in the U.S., were trying to make sure that I did not fall on my face when I left the house, and that required them having to be certain ways with me that I'm sure they did not want to be. Having to be strict in certain ways, having like I'm sure my mom never called her friend and said, "I need to tell you something incredible. My son sat at his desk all day and learned math. He wanted to go out and play soccer, but he didn't." That is not something that a parent feels proud of, right? They do it because they feel like they have to, but the parent would much rather see their child laughing, playing soccer, and having fun than sitting in front of a desk staring at math. And so my contention is in this AI world, we can let go of that a little bit because it doesn't matter how hard you study at math, the AI model can do it faster than you. So that doesn't matter. But
Yes.
the AI model is not going to learn collaborative problem solving like you will playing a team sport like soccer. And so get the kid out and play soccer. Don't let them sit there in front of a desk and do math because that can be helpful. But how helpful is that going to be compared to the interhuman, interpersonal skills, the physical body skills that your kid is going to do when they go out and play a sport? And so my contention is, please, as parents, let's possibly give this moment an opportunity to let go of that kind of parenting and actually go enjoy what I would call rule breaking kids, right? The joy of rule breaking kids. Go out there and have fun with your kids. Like they will do things that might get them in trouble in school, but guess what? That thing that will get them in trouble in school might be the exact superpower that they need in this AI world. And so let's celebrate that. Let's bring that up and let's have some fun parenting again.
I love that. So that's really about enabling our kids to learn how to be more human
Yeah.
in a world where technology anyway will
Yeah.
excel at all the expertise and most of the skills that we've known for ages. The key abilities that our kids should learn are those human
Human
abilities,
quality. And frankly,
like
as parents, we got to really
collaborating with others,
exactly.
creativity.
And I think
Uh,
we as adults, we need to relearn it too, right? I think we've lost a lot of it,
yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's how we were grown. That's how we were raised and being mid-career, late career, wherever we are, we've had to squash a lot of our creativity in order to get to certain places.
Yes.
So maybe we have to do a little bit of relearning. Look at our kids to relearn it, right? Because when you look at these young kids, they haven't been broken like a lot of us adults have. So learn from our kids. Like see how
Exactly.
they
I love
acted crazy. Let's act crazy too.
I love that point. That's how I introduce the three humics, the three uniquely human abilities,
Mhm.
by watching kids in a playground. That's
Yeah,
the
that's it. That's it. It's humanity
Kunal, that
at
I'm
its most
I'm
joyful.
I'm I'm conscious of time.
Oh yeah,
Thanks a lot for your time and insights. That was great.
absolutely.
Again, the name of your book and where we can find it.
Yeah, so it's the AI Parent, and you can find it on Amazon, Amazon US, Amazon Europe, all Canada, Australia, all the Amazons.
Okay,
So you can just the AI Parent, by me, Kunal Dalal.
excellent. Thank you very much, Kunal.
Absolutely, Pascal. It's been lovely speaking with you,
Amazing. Thank you, Kunal. Have a good day.
and you
And
as well.
to the listeners, thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.